The Super Bowl is over. Football season is behind us. And that's got me in a little bit of a bad mood because now I got, what are we focused on here? Basketball. And I don't know about you, but I am not the biggest of NBA fans. But I'm going to tell you today on this Win at Work Monday how the Brooklyn Nets, the only way the Brooklyn Nets can win an NBA championship. So stay tuned for that. Welcome to Chasing Greatness on this Valentine's Day. And I can't believe it. I am literally sitting outside on the porch today. I'm actually, it's kind of like Groundhog. I'm trying to move out 6 weeks early. So this is my normal office. If you listen and you've been with me for a while, I love being outside, being on the porch. It's kind of fun. So thanks for being with us. I appreciate so much all of you who continue to listen and download these things. It's crazy how that happens. Hopefully you're getting a little value out of that. Hopefully you're finding some people that are going to need to hear this today, and you can share that with them as well. If you have not subscribed, I encourage you to do that. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you've never seen the YouTube channel, they say I have a face for a podcast, not YouTube. But I will tell you this: if you want to see what Georgia in February looks like, check out the porch today. It's just kind of cool. If you've never been on the YouTube channel, this is fun. So I'm fired up. So as I said, football's over. There was a big trade in the NBA last week. If you follow basketball at all, but if you don't, you're going to learn some things today that are going to help you win at work. Because we're going to talk about interpersonal conflict in the workplace today. I think it's an important topic. And last week we had this, what was called blockbuster, literally I'm thinking who cares, but blockbuster deal between two markets. That's what it was about. It was about money. It was about Philadelphia and Brooklyn swapping a couple of players. James Harden moves from the Brooklyn Nets. He seems like he's never happy with the team he's with. I'm not sure what's going on with that, but this is 4 or 5 times this feels like it's happened over the last decade. And Ben Simmons, who was not happy with Philadelphia, wanted to not even play. And he's got maybe other things going on beyond basketball. But there's a lot of talk about he's just really been not wanting to play with Philadelphia. And so he gets traded. They swap these, and they're both arguing about who's won the trade. Let's just put them on the floor and let them play each other and see who wins. But the thing is, I thought last summer when I heard the news about – or I guess now it's been a couple years. I don't even know how long it's been. Again, I don't follow the NBA very much unless it's the Warriors. I like the Warriors because they play team basketball, and if the Brooklyn Nets are really going to overcome this thing, or not just overcome it, if they're going to take advantage of this trade, they're going to have to learn to play together, and they're going to need a leader. And I'm not sure. I know they have Kevin Durant, and I know they have Kyrie Irving half the time, depending on where they're playing, and if you follow the story there. And I know they have. Now Ben Simmons, who may or may not even be playing, but today's Valentine's Day on this Win at Work Monday, and I thought I would just kind of show some workplace love today. I think love really is a competitive advantage in a workplace, and I think if you don't have any degree of what's it like to be on my team, which I'm not sure these guys that we're talking about really have that. I want to connect the dots back to our workplaces because we're going to be around challenging people at work. And I had a person who listened to the show last week say, "How do you handle conflict in the workplace?" And that's really what I want to talk about today, as we kind of dive deeper on this. If Brooklyn is going to be great, it's really only going to be because their players work together. That's what basketball is about. I think that's why basketball, honestly, is such a great game. Years ago we lived in Knoxville when Pat Summitt was the coach there. I actually got to be a guest coach, which is a long story. I got to be a guest coach. I was coaching girls basketball in Knoxville at the time. Got to be a guest coach for Pat Summitt one night. It was really cool. Got to spend a whole day with her and that program. And one of the things that I remember from that season was there was a picture on Sports Illustrated where it had a story about their team, but it said, here's what the headline was: it takes 10 hands to put the ball in the net. And it had all the 5 starters, their hands. It didn't even show the players or the numbers or the jerseys or the ponytails, any of that kind of stuff. It was literally just their hands around the rim, and the ball was being dropped through. And I think basketball is just a great game because it really takes everybody working together if you're going to score and you're going to prevent the other team from scoring. You're going to work together. You got to share. You got to defend together. You got to sacrifice, share the ball, all that stuff. I mean, it's just basketball is a great game. And yet I haven't seen any of that out of Brooklyn. In fact, they lost about, 9, 10 games in a row a couple of weeks ago. One of the stars was out, and this trade was rumored, and there's all kind of stuff going on, just chaos. And that does not sound like a championship formula for me. So what do you do when you're on a team at work and there's chaos going on because there's one or two people that are not fun to be around? You can't get along with them anymore. And I'm going, or maybe they've gotten negative or critical. I've been around some people in the last few weeks who I listened to them talk and they're kind of negative or thinking, man, I don't know if I would want to be in the workplace with that person. Just what do you do when you've got this, or you're feeling this tension? And you all know, I mean, if you've worked anywhere for a while, you know what that tension feels like. Now, let me go back to something I said, a couple of weeks ago when I was talking about winning at work. You got to be in your sweet spot. You got to be in your place in your company. And if you're not, I encourage you to leave and move on and get to a place where you can do what it is you're born to do. But if you're doing what you're born to do, and it's not really the skill set, the talent level that's the issue, it's the people, then you're going to have to ask yourself, do I need to move on just to get away from the people? So many times we're not going towards something, we're moving away from something, and many times that's interpersonal relationships where there's a challenge. And I had a friend who told me one time, if I have a problem with you and I have a problem with her and I have a problem with them, then maybe I'm the problem. So I don't know, you may need to do a little soul searching on, are you part of the problem? But many times we've got people around us, they are the problem. So what do we do? Well, there's a couple things that I would just share with you today that I think might be helpful. Number one, I go back to what I say all the time is, think like a servant leader. Think like, what am I going to do to make this situation better? Not what am I going to do to blow the situation up or get away from this situation or try to change this situation. You're really not going to change people. But if you have the right heart and you begin to see things with the right perspective, oftentimes things can get better, which is great. But the second thing, I think, and this is going to be the hard thing to hear maybe, but you got to go talk to people. You got to go meet with people. If you've got an issue with somebody, and y'all know I love the Bible. I think it's the best book ever written. I mean, and I love books, but this book it just has so much practical stuff for life. And there's one principle in the Bible in the Gospel of Matthew, the 18th chapter. It basically says if you have a problem with someone, you go to that person alone. You go and meet with that person and you have a conversation about that. And, I would just say as you begin to think about any of those interpersonal conflicts, relationships to help you win at work, who is it that you need to maybe have a conversation? Maybe you've been holding back. Maybe you've been hoping it's going to get better. It's really not going to change if they don't know what's going on or how you're feeling. And I was at a conference a couple of weeks ago, and somebody made a statement I thought was really good. He said, the reason we call them blind spots is because we can't see them. And so the person who is struggling beside you, who's challenging you, who's causing you angst, who's causing you frustration, it could be that it's not, they're not waking up in the morning thinking, oh, I hope I can make, fill your name in here. I hope I can make them nuts today. That's not what they're thinking. They're really not thinking. Oftentimes they're not aware. And we say all the time that we need to seek feedback from others, but sometimes we need to be honest with others and we need to have a conversation and say, hey, let me share with you when this happens, this is how it makes me feel. And I know what you're saying. I know what you're thinking right now because I've been there and I've thought this many times. It's like, I don't want to say that. I just rather just put my head down, do my job, let them do what they do, and just avoid it. And here's the reality. And I'm just going to be honest with you here. If you don't do something about this in the next, however long, next week, next 2 weeks, next 6 months, next 5 years, nothing's going to change if they're not aware of what's going on and that interpersonal connection. And the truth is, if you're like me, there's probably some stuff you need to work on as well. And so having that conversation can honestly pave a path to greater teamwork, intimacy, and I mean that in a like friendship kind of, in a great way. I don't mean that in any kind of negative way. You want to have the best connection with the people around you that you can. And why would you not want to have synergy and collaboration and friendship and honestly love? I mean, it's just a great word. It is a competitive advantage in a workplace, and it's the very thing that will propel whoever wins the NBA championship to the title when it's all said and done. You will not have dysfunction and backbiting and I want to be out of here and I don't want to play with you and I didn't get to take enough shots. That's not going to be a winning formula in the NBA anymore. It's going to be a winning formula in your work environment. And so on this Valentine's Day, if you really want to give yourself the biggest opportunity you can to win at work, love really is the competitive advantage. And if you care about somebody, if you really are willing to go and talk to somebody, it really shows that you love them at some level. Wouldn't you want somebody on your team, if they're having an issue with you that you're having maybe with somebody, wouldn't you want them to come to you and share that with you? Or would you rather them just say, you know what, she's that way, he's that way, I'll just work with them, and 10 years later, you're just miserable. And so I don't know. I'm guessing you got some conversations that you may need to have. We talk about responding with courage all the time, and I always jokingly say I don't want you to bungee jump off a bridge in New Zealand. I don't know why I picked New Zealand. I guess they do a lot of bungee jumping over there. That's not the kind of courage I'm talking about. Courage to have a hard conversation. Courage sometimes to confront somebody, sometimes to hold somebody accountable. It might not even be a negative situation. Maybe it's just literally they're not doing their job and it's affecting everybody else on the team. And so to hold them accountable. If you're not holding them accountable, you're enabling that dysfunctional behavior that's driving you crazy right now. So you don't have to do that. I really want to encourage you to go have that conversation. And here's one little last thing I'll leave you with. So many times when I've needed to have that hard conversation, I have delayed, I've put it off, I've like, I'll just deal with it, later. And then finally gotten up the courage or the initiative or whatever you want to call it to go and have the conversation. But the reason I had put it off was because I'd built them up in my mind that this is going to be really hard. And here's what I've always found. Almost every single time, it's always been less difficult than I thought it was going to be. It's rarely been escalated beyond what I already had it built up in my mind to be. It's so many times it's just been not as bad. And I can't tell you how many times it has helped us, whoever is involved there, get to a better place and even to a close place. And when you get to that place where you're willing to tell each other the truth, willing to share what you're feeling, and willing to ask them, is there anything you need to share with me? And you really have an open heart. And it's so hard. It's so hard when somebody comes back at you and goes, especially when you're thinking, man, you're driving me crazy. And then they come back at you with something. It's going to be so easy for you to go, dude, I'm losing my mind for 5 years and you're feeling one little nitpicky thing. It's so wild how we make our things small and what's going on in somebody else's life really big. And yet we don't even consider what might be going on with them. So many times they've had a really hard background. They got something going on at home. We're going to talk about some of this to help you win at home on Wednesday. But they got something really hard going on at home. They got something that you don't even know about, and that's what's causing maybe some of the issue. And so I can't tell you enough how important it is for you to lead with love, to really give people an opportunity to get better. You would want the same thing to be true for you. And that really will never happen if you allow their blind spots to be a place that's going to spread chaos in the workplace. You got to help them be aware of that. And you got to be willing to say to people, hey, can you help me? Is there something you see in me that I need to work on? And even if you don't have anything with anybody on your team, still a good practice to go to your people and say, hey, help me get better. That's what Chasing Greatness is all about. So thanks for listening. I hope today will help you. I'm guessing you have a conversation or two you may need to go and have. And then you may know somebody who's really struggling right now and they need a little coaching and encouragement. I hope you'll share it with them.
I'll be back with you on Wednesday. We're going to talk about some of the same idea. I got one big concept for you on Wednesday that'll help you really in your marriage and your parenting, some of those relationships at home that matter to you. But in the meantime, I love you guys. I hope you will love each other out there. If you will, your workplace is going to be a better place. Let's go lead with love.